Hello, I'm Joy Macknight, Managing Editor at The Banker, and I'm joined by Alain Raes, Chief Executive, EMEA and Asia Pacific at SWIFT, to talk about the changes happening in the European landscape payment space. Alain, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
What are the main changes that you're seeing?
You would argue actually that the European payment space and security space has been a constant transformation over the last 15 years. Actually, since the creation of the euro currency, the authorities, the central bank, have had to implement the rails that can really help the industry to leverage the power of the single currency. Nowadays, what we're talking about? We're talking about the ECB creating a new gateway, a single access to all the market infrastructure that they're running. They're running today T2S, they're operating T2, and they're also operating the new TIPS platform, which talks about instant payments. So the ECB is going to propose to all the banks by 2021 a single gateway to all those systems. Now, the real challenge for this is that all those systems, when they'll be live, will be talking in ISO 20 or 22. And therefore it means that for all the current players today on the T2 platform, the high value payment platform, will have to migrate to this new syntax. And that obviously will represent a huge challenge for the industry.
So what about faster payments? How does that fit into the European transformation?
Part of the ESMI platform, we're talking about this TIPS platform that is a new instant payment system that will be supporting or actually providing another customer experience to everyone in Europe. Other systems are also, by the way, in development, like LT1 from the EBA clearing company that they've moved and proposing those services. So in that context, we're doing two or three things. We're proposing access to those platforms over the SWIFT network. It's clearly one thing. But also, we're trying to leverage our GPI initiatives that has been now live for nearly 3 years, and try to start actually connecting banks, financial institutions from different parts of the world to real-time payment services that exist today in Europe, like TIPS, and making sure that international payments can become, in doing so, as much efficient as domestic payments. In that context, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we operated a proof of concept that has been connecting 19 banks in the world in 13 countries, sending payments from countries like Australia all the way to a bank in Germany. It gets into the TIPS, real-time payment platform of the ECB, and end up into a bank in Spain, and all of that account to account in 41 seconds. We've had actually many payments being done. The average time is about 80 seconds today, and it's not even optimized. Right? It's really a proof of concept. So when we'll get to the productization of this, the industrialization of this, we'll be certainly able to optimize this to a few seconds.
Okay, but how does this tie into the changes that are happening globally?
The ISO 20 or 22 migration is a global migration, right? And SWIFT has proposed now, with the support of our board, a schedule that will actually range from 2021 to 2025 to have the entire community moving its payments business into this new syntax. Now, the issue that we know, the challenge that the European landscape will be facing is that the ECB is forcing a migration much earlier into that same context, so the migration will happen by November 2021, which means that all the institutions in Europe somewhere will have to be ready for that migration far in advance compared to the rest of the world. But that migration is happening everywhere.
Okay, but what are the main challenges for the banking industry to be ready?
They need to making sure that all the systems that today talks a language will be able to talk the other language. And more importantly, the beauty of 20 or 22 is about rich data. It's really about being able over time to proposing eventually another experience to all of your clients, to eventually be able to proposing new value-added services that will be based on data that are much richer than before. Obviously, in trying to do so, they'll have to upgrading, to adapting all the applications that they have to making sure that will happen seamlessly. I've heard banks telling me that we're talking about hundreds of applications that over the next few years will have to be adapted to that in order to making sure that those payment flows will flow seamlessly.
Obviously, November 2021 is a very tight deadline, actually. What kind of key milestones do the banks have to hit?
The prime mission at this point of time is to making sure that everybody understands that there is a migration, right? That everybody understands that there is a milestone, there is a deadline, and they'll have to be ready. Then we're moving to the next stage to see, okay, let's try to understand the real impacts that migration will have into your operations, right? applications that are being impacted, but also the kind of service you'll be able to provide in addition to what you have today as well. Then obviously they will have transformation to happen. Banks will have to work with vendors, other companies to helping them to achieving this as well. Then you'll move to testing obviously, and hopefully everybody is going to be ready by November 2021, knowing that we're talking about a big bank migration, meaning that everyone will have to move at the same time.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your insights, Alain.
Pleasure, thank you.